Hello, welcome. It's Michelle here. And if you're new to my channel, thank you for coming along and joining us. I'm going to be doing these lovely autumn leaves from this reference picture up here. This was a picture by Jonah Petrich. And I will leave a link to where you can find this reference picture in the bottom. I'm not going to be copying it completely. It's just to give me an idea, some inspiration. I rather like the black background, and then we've got kind of that bouquet effect going on in the background, and then the contrast of those lovely autumn leaves. So I'm going to work out what colours I'm going to be using today. I'm going to be using my Michael Harding paints. I've got some watercolour paper. It's 300 GSM. It's cold pressed with a little bit of texture to it. And I've just taped it down onto a little A5 cutting mat. That's what I'm using there. I'm going to get out my Skoda Perla brushes. I've got a 12, a 10 and an 8. And I think I will also grab, if I can find it, here it is. You could find a rigger or a very small, perhaps like a size 2 brush. I'm going to use this branch and detail brush. It's a Matthew Palmer one, and it's got quite a big belly, but it works like a rigger. So I'm going to be using that because of doing the little twiggy bits, I think. Right, I've got some water here. It's just out of shot, but I don't think it's important for you to be able to see that so much. And so let us start by choosing some colours. So we need that really dark background, and I think I'm going to be using this Payne's Grey. So that's what I'm going to be using for that really dark background. Now for our leaves, what shall we use for our leaves? I think I'm going to use a little bit of a mix of colours. So perhaps I've got some new gamboge, haven't I, here? And that's quite nice, but it's not orangey enough. So let's take some of this red ochre of France, which is a little bit like a, oh, what would I call it? It's a cross between a burnt sienna and maybe an English red. It's not as dark as an English red. So I think I'm going to use those as my 3 colours, but I do just want to do a little bit of a mix with my new gamboge. Where are you? There you are. That's not going as nice as I thought it would. It's gone more brown than orangey, hasn't it? Okay, I think we need another plan. So I think, why don't we try a bit of the Scarlet Lake with the new gamboge. Maybe not enough new gamboge. Let's keep trying. That's definitely going into a more orangey kind of colour. So yeah, I'm going to add Scarlet Lake into the mix. I think it's always worthwhile, you know, choosing and seeing what your colours are going to do before you start. So I've got Payne's Grey, I've got New Gamboge, I've got this Red Ochre of France, could be a burnt sienna, and then I've got my Scarlet Lake. That's what I'm going to be using today. Right, first things first, I think, yes, let's go to a bigger brush. I do need my little sponge out, don't I? Just to clean that off. Go to a much bigger brush now, and I'm going to wet the page so as I can get my background in. So that's where I'm starting. Right, now let's do our Payne's Grey. Okay, now they've got that kind of bouquet effect going on where you lift out some of the colour, but I think before I do that, I'm actually going to take some, just had a thought, some bleed proof white, and I'm going to get some of this going on. And I'm going to make them a bit more round. Of course, this could be a disaster. You never know with me, because I'm constantly just playing, really. But we can always do some lifting out in a bit. So, right, we need that. To dry back into shakes. Okay, that is now nice and dry. And then I need a tissue. Grab a tissue and a smaller brush, because what I want to do now is get some of that bouquet effect going on by lifting out the paint. So you can see I'm just using water, and that way, there we go, we get these white, going back to the paper, circles. Which, together with the white bleed-proof, white, sorry, that I used, I think is making quite a nice effect. So, I mean, they really are quite close together, these circles. Maybe we can do 2 or 3 at a time. I'm hoping that you can see that these are lifting out nicely. So this bit is probably going to take a little bit of time when you do it for yourselves. Because we've really got to cover quite a bit, and we really need to be going back to that paper in order to get be able to get the colour of the leaves in. And I'm just thinking to myself how I'm going to do that, and whether I might need to add in a bit of gouache or even some acrylic and add my paint to that. So this is not something that you can particularly rush. I mean, I'm quite a quick worker, but you see this wonderful effect that we're getting. Now, you do need to keep moving your tissue about in order to mop up all of the paint, just so as you know. Right, we need to keep moving across the page here a bit. And I really need to, that's it, get these overlapping a bit more, I think, in order to get that effect properly. Okay. So, have any of you tried this bouquet effect before? It's quite good fun. You do need to make sure that you've got a colour that is not too staining, so that you can lift it out. If the colour is a particularly staining colour, then you will struggle to lift paint off the paper. But I think we're definitely getting there. Right, let's maybe just try and turn my tissue around. There we go. So I'm trying to get these to overlap now a bit more. Yeah, they're starting to overlap quite nicely now. There, I think that will probably do quite nicely. But because that is all still a little bit wet, I'm just going to dry this again. There we go. We have that nice and dry. So now I want to get some branches in. So I'm going to go back to my Payne's Grey with my little branch and detail brush, or you could be using your rigger. And I'm just going to get some of these going up. Okay. And maybe we've even got one coming across. We can have one there. And maybe one like that. And even that can kind of just go off into the distance, I think. And we can have some smaller ones coming off here. Okay, so there we have our little branches. Now the trickiest bit to do those leaves, and I think I am going to grab. Let us get hold of. Okay, I've got this. You could find some gouache, some acrylic, but obviously we're going to need something that's going to go over these dark colours. So this is an Atelier interactive acrylic, and it is Acrylamide Yellow Deep. So I can't remember when I last used these, but I think that's probably going to be a good colour to mix with some watercolour. So I'm not going to be using it on its own. So I'm going to grab some of this. This is like the tear off palettes that you can use for oils and acrylics. So the thing is, I don't really want the whole page, so I'm just going to tear a piece off for now, and I'm going to pop that over here so that I can mix my colour. I'll try and do it so that you can kind of see a bit. So I'm going to put some of that down, and let's find a brush to use. I think I've got all of my brushes in the water because I'm naughty. So let's take them out, and I'm going to use the little one, the size 8. Right, then we need, what were we using? We were going to be using the New Gamboge, weren't we? So we'll have a bit of that, and we were going to use some of the Red Ochre of France and some of the Scarlet Lake. So I have no idea whether this is going to work, but let's take some of our acrylic and some of this. Yes, and it kind of works, right, by mixing them together. And let's try a leaf, shall we? A leaf. Let's try one and see what happens. Let's put one in here. Oh, now that's not looking too bad. I'm going to grab some of my Scarlet Lake. It's not working like watercolour does. Okay. But then I wouldn't expect it to, really. That's quite a nice colour. I'm quite liking that. So I'm just going to keep adding different different colours to the acrylic colour, if that is making some sense to you. So we've got one there. We're going to need another one coming off here. Okay, perhaps we'll have one that's just a bit more yellowy. I will do the bits that attach it to the branch in a minute. And if needed, I can add some, I might need to twist this about a bit to get my leaves on. There's not many leaves there. They're kind of half fallen off, haven't they? Just so as I can get myself at the right angle. And as I said, I'm just literally, I know it's quite hard for you to see, but I am just mixing all the colours together, making sure I've got some acrylic in there, because otherwise it's really not going to go over the top of the dark colour. So let's see, we need one maybe a bit smaller here. And maybe we'll have one down there. Let's add a bit of water to you. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay. So we've got a few leaves here. Where else should we have one? Should have one down here going off the page a little bit. And one here, one dangling down there, going off the page. Let's add a bit more of the red into that one. This is proving to be quite interesting, and maybe we can have one that's kind of just off the edge there. I think I want to leave a dark corner, but yeah, we can have maybe a much smaller one. Yeah, a little, like half a leaf kind of thing, a bit of a leaf, shall we say. Let's just water that down a little bit. Where was I? Oh, over here. Yeah, just these little bits that are not really anything much. Okay, maybe we should do something a bit more up here. They're kind of higher up, so I'm going to make them a little bit smaller. Yeah, it just looked a little bit odd. Okay, I'm not going to go berserk with those, but I do want to get in where they are meeting the to get a little like that, so that they are attached to the twiggy branch. Okay, right, I'm going to dry that, and then I'm going to see what else I want to do. Maybe get some coloured pencils out over the top. Okay, that is dry. Right, I'm just going to move my paints out of the way a moment, so that I can bring in some coloured pencils. Let's see what we want. I'm quite liking the idea of using cornelian. I think that probably needs a bit of a sharpen. So let me just sharpen that. There we go, cornelian. Ooh, don't roll away. Stay. What else might we need? I think we're going to need a sort of a browny colour. Don't know if that's going to be dark enough. Where's my little piece of paper? No. Right, I want more of a brown to make the veins on the leaves, but I don't want it to be too dark a brown. What colour is this? No, not quite. Okay, let's keep going. What colour are you? You are sepia 50%. Okay, more like it. Okay, so let's use those, and maybe even a little bit of no, not that colour. That colour. Aha. I think this is called russet, is it? Natural russet. Okay. So I think that's all that I will need, those 3 coloured pencils. So let's move you over here a bit. And I just want to add a little bit. That really blends in quite well, that cornelian. Of course, these probably wouldn't work very well over if I hadn't put the acrylic down. I'm just enhancing my leaves, I suppose you might call it, so that we are getting a bit more variation in our colours. And I think that is helping. Because we've got the nice acrylic that is giving us that base. Yeah, that's working, she says. Putting my hands in the wet paint again on this one here. Let's move you out of the way. Didn't put my light on today, did I? Don't know if that's going to make a difference or not. Now let's get some veins in, and they go right to the end, don't they? Okay. And then I'll do these a bit more, just a bit fainter. The veins that are coming off the main middle vein. Well, I don't think that's turned out too bad. I'm rather liking that. It was an experiment. I didn't quite know how. I mean, I knew what colours I wanted to use, but just ordinary watercolour wouldn't have gone over the top, I don't think. So just adding a tiny bit of acrylic and mixing those up, I think has worked a treat. So very happy with that. Let's take this off. Which is always a good satisfying part of doing a piece of art. I love this, taking this bit off, and it just always looks so much better when you've got a little board around it, I think. Oops, where are you? There you are. This bit doesn't want to move. There we are. So put my little mat back. Right. What do you think? I think that has been quite successful. I'm very happy with that. Yeah, I really need to go and clean my brushes properly because I've been mucking about with acrylics. But that, I think, I'm going to class as a surprising success. I quite like that bouquet effect. I think it works well because I used the bleed proof white in the background. I think it's got good depth about it. Yeah, what fun, everybody. So yeah, that's it for this little yeah, experiment, I suppose. So maybe I will come up with something similar using the same techniques for a paint calm. Who knows? So there we are. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay calm. Until I see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.